Hey, Sean.
Hey, Cliff.
What's this right here?
That's a CD
A
player.
CD player coming at you right now for your 4Runner. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cliff and
Sean
with TrailGrid Pro. Super pumped to be back with you, Sean. We've got a legacy product sitting right in front of us. That's what you called it. I love it. What do we got here, buddy?
So here we have JVC's KW-V960BW. Now what's the V for? The V is for CD DVD player.
Ooh.
So a first here at TrailGrid Pro.
Yeah. So you might be asking yourself, why a CD DVD player option in what, 2025 almost?
26.
Yep, almost 26. Well, we've been listening to you guys for 5 years now and have tons of requests for a CD option from 4Runner owners, Tundra owners, Tacoma owners, and we're gonna have this option for all of you. So we're super pumped about that. Those that have a catalog of CDs or DVDs, you know, remember the little folders?
Or the visor?
In the visor.
I had the visor.
Yeah, you got a visor, you got a folder. We got a solution for you. It's awesome from JVC. And this is actually a new partnership for us on the TrailGrid Pro side.
It is,
yeah. So we're excited about that with JVC, expanding our offerings to be able to meet your needs. And this is definitely a hole in the suite of products that we've had for a while, and we're pumped to be able to fill that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I figured what we could do, Sean, is let's go through. So while it's a legacy product, right, which I love that, it's packed with 2025 features.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So run through those a little bit.
So the 960's been around for a few years now, but it was way ahead of its time even back then. Yep. So built in, we have obviously CD DVD player. Yep. We have both wired and wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You have the ability to stream high-res music. You have Bluetooth. You have Sirius XM capability. 4 camera inputs. Ooh. So rear, front, sides, wherever you want to put cameras, you can do that there. Yep. You have 3 RCA pre-outs that are 5 volts each, so make your amplifiers or your aftermarket amplifiers sound even better. I mean, this thing is just, it's a little powerhouse.
Yeah, so we say, you know, it's a legacy product, really only because it has a CD DVD player option. Because all of the other features are 2025, state-of-the-art, today's best option when it comes to head units. So it's the best of both worlds. So if you are a CD, DVD player person, you got the visor, the whole book of CDs, this is the solution for you. It's super awesome. Plug and play, just like all of our other options. Maintaining steering wheel controls, backup camera, that factory backup camera. It can obviously work for those of you that have any aftermarket backup cameras. It'll work perfectly. Retains all factory features. So any settings that you can control with your factory head unit, that's retained. Why? Well, let's spin this around. It's due to the Maestro integration here. Everything will arrive to you completely plug and play. The team does a great job building the kit for your 4Runner, not somebody else's. When you place your order, it's custom built for your order, which is super cool. Sean, available in charcoal or silver dash. It's a comprehensive solution for 4Runner owners, and we're pumped to have it, like I said. Sean, why don't you go over a little bit of what's on the table so people know what to expect that they'll receive when it hits their door.
So like Cliff said, everything will arrive to your door, fully plug and play ready. The only thing you'll have to do is we'll have to do a little bit of mounting of some hardware on the radio kit. That requires us to pull the factory radio first. I'll show you all that during the install video.
Easy peasy.
Some of the stuff on the table are going to be necessary if you don't have like the factory GPS antenna. You'll have to run the JVC GPS antenna. We have the 4th camera input. We have some extra length USBs. Now yours will come ready to go to use your factory USB. We have our Bluetooth microphone along with our 4Runner 3D printed mount for the microphone. We have our OBD2 plug. Now that's what'll give us all of our information that the Maestro allows you to display on the screen, tire pressure, door open, RPM, so on and so forth. And then we have just our cover plates and stuff that we will mount onto our kit. So
sweet. So yeah, so you kind of touched on the microphone, right? So just like all of our other 4Runner options, you have a choice. You can use our handy dandy little mic mount that you can store the microphone in the overhead console. We'll put a video below on how to do that. Sean will remind you later about that. And then you can just also put the mic wherever you want. So I think today we're going to put it right on top of the steering column.
Just for now.
Just for now, yeah, we'll put it there. But if you want to put it in the overhead console, we'll link the video below for that. If you want to put it somewhere else, that's up to you. And then, yeah, we got over here the hardware for the dash kit. So Sean, like we said, it's a comprehensive solution. We've got 2025 technology.
Yes.
I mean, the best of the best.
Truly.
But then we also have the legacy CD, DVD player. So if you're somebody with CDs in the visor, or a book of CDs or DVDs, this is definitely the solution for you. Again, we've probably fielded 250 requests for this over the last 5 years. So we're super pumped to bring it to you. And just follow this video. Sean's gonna do a great job getting it in. You follow that to a T, you got it installed in around an hour.
So now that Cliff and I have gone over what's included in the JVC KW-V960BW bundle, let's go over some of the tools that are going to be necessary for disassembly, installation, as well as reassembly. So first we're going to need some kind of screw gun, a 10mm socket with extension. If you choose to use a socket wrench, you can have one of those. A panel removal tool, a number 1 and number 0 Phillips head screwdriver, a wire fish tool, a pair of cutters, some wire ties, and some electrical tape or cloth tape, whichever you feel will suit you best. So now we've gone over all the tools. Let's just get right into it. Get this 4Runner disassembled and get the factory radio out, and then we'll come back to the table and show you how to assemble your dash kit. So let's get right into disassembly of our factory radio. Now this will also be if you already have another aftermarket radio, the disassembly is the same. So we're going to start off by removing the 2 side panels on either side. So for that, just pull straight out and release the clips on the inside. Same thing on the passenger side. And release those clips. So from there, we're just going to remove the heater controls. So for that, you can just kind of pull it straight out towards you. And then we're going to unplug it and then release the little clip holding the wires in. There we go. So that's the clip. Set that aside. So now we have 4 10mm bolts on the underside of the radio that we need to remove. So whether you're using a screw gun or a regular 10mm in a socket, go ahead and get those out. So there we have all 4 of the bolts. Put them somewhere accessible because we're going to be reusing them as we reinstall the new head unit. So those 4 bolts are out. Now we just need to pop out the factory radio. And again, just go gentle, just kind of wiggle it back and forth until it releases. So we have our hazard switch. Need to get that unplugged and set that aside. And then we have a bunch of connections on the back of the radio that we need to release and just kind of let sit. So we have our antenna, so we can go ahead and unplug our antenna, unplug our factory Sirius XM antenna, as well as our factory USB. Then from there, we can release our factory GPS antenna, and then the rest of the speaker and power harnesses. So with that, depending on your model year, you'll have one harness that will just stay in the factory radio. That is these two here, the white, the green, and then the one down here, which is gray. You don't need to remove them. You want to keep those plugged in for when you swap out from your aftermarket radio back to your factory radio. So let's go ahead, grab our factory radio, because there are some things that we need to remove from here to put on our new radio kit. So let's go back to the table and I'm going to show you how to assemble your kit. Now we have our factory radio out. I'm going to show you exactly what needs to be done to affix some of those factory things on your new aftermarket radio kit. So inside your box, your kit will come wrapped in this foam. I just suggest lay that down, lay everything kind of out so you have it exactly how it should go. So first thing we're going to want to do is there's two small silver screws that kind of hold what would be this pocket right here on. So just grab your number 1 or number 0 screwdriver, undo those screws, and they are extremely small. So you can see how small they are. Set each one aside. And then we're just going to slide that pocket out, and then it'll just slide right back in. So from there, we need to release both vents. Now this can be a little bit difficult because there are some tabs that hold each one into place. So we need to release the tabs to pop out each vent. So you may want to use either your small screwdriver or a panel removal tool. On the top, it's pretty easy. Once you have that out, you're just going to kind of lift that up. Now on the bottom, it's a little more difficult because of where it is. So you just kind of want to wiggle either a panel tool or a small screwdriver in there, and then just kind of lift it out. Here's the top tab, and here are the bottom 2 tabs. So then we just repeat the process on the other vent. And release that other vent. So from there, last thing we need to do is get out our hazard switch. So on the back, again, there are some tabs. Just need to press in on here and push it forward through. Now those tabs are right at the top and right at the bottom, and you just kind of push those in and push it through. So now that's all we need with the factory radio. Now you can go ahead, put it away, put it in storage, just keep it in a nice, safe, dry area. So now to go ahead and get all those things installed on our new kit. So the kit will come with a couple of things. It'll come with your hazard adapter, it'll come with new pop clips, some screws, and some trim pieces. So first thing we're going to want to do, let's get these trim pieces installed. So they go on either side of the kit. They just kind of push in and then use these 4 screws to secure it into position. So get either one put on, just make sure they're pushed all the way down in. You should see a little bit of painted material on the bottom. Then you can go ahead and flip it around and then go ahead and start each screw. Now I would suggest holding on to the actual trim piece as you're screwing it in so you're not pushing it out. But just go ahead and screw those in to tight. And then repeat the process for the other one. And then tighten those down. So that's what that should look like when that's all done. So now we can flip it back over. We can go ahead and put in our vents. So there is a right hand and a left hand. One will say RH and the other will say LH. Now obviously this is upside down, so our right hand side is going to go here. Now just to double check, you should have 2 clips on the bottom and 1 on the top. So you can just line those up and click it right in. Exact same thing for the left hand side. Just kind of line it up and clip it in. Just always give a little shake just to make sure it's in. So that's what that'll look like. So now we can grab our hazard switch adapter and just kind of push that in. So you should hear a nice audible click for when that's in, and it will attach on the sides here. So next we can go ahead and grab our factory hazard switch and just slide that into position. Just make sure it still clicks when you push it in and out and it's not stuck on either side or cattywampus. So just 2 more steps and we'll be done with the assembly of our dash kit. We need to put our little pocket in, and then we need to put on our white plastic clips that help hold it in. So I'm going to swing it around, just slide that in. Just like that. Now you want to just kind of make sure that it locks all the way in and you don't have any gaps anywhere along the kit, and those holes should line up basically perfectly. Get these 2 real small Phillips head screws reinstalled. They'll only go one place, so kind of get those lined up. So now we've got everything in. All our vents work. So we're good there. Now lastly, placing our clips on there. They just slide right in the middle and should lock on pretty easily. So now our kit is complete. We're actually ready to begin the install. Now I'm going to start with the OBD2 plug as well as the Bluetooth microphone. So those are here. So let me just take a quick second, show you actually how to install our Bluetooth microphone into our 3D printed mount. Now in our install, I'm just going to put it up on the center of the steering column just for time. I will also link the video for the full install of the microphone down below here. So super simple process. You're just going to pop the microphone out of the ball holder. And then when we take our microphone and our mount, we're just going to slide it down through and then just push just like that. So you'll just have it just below the actual cylinder here. But since we're not using that, I'm just going to pop it off. And put it back on the mount. So let's go back over to the 4Runner, get our OBD2 plug run, get our microphone run, and I'm going to show you all that right now. So let's start by running our microphone and our OBD2 connector. First thing we're going to want to do is have some sort of wire fish. You can use anything you want, an old coat hanger, whatever, doesn't matter. We just need to be able to fish from the radio area down to the driver's floorboard. So I like to use a real long zip tie that I cut off the end. You can get those at any of your local hardware stores. So first we're just gonna kind of fish that down through. Down through the side here, making sure that it comes out the bottom. So next, we're gonna grab our OBD2, as well as our end of the microphone. So those two ends right there, kind of extend them out. Then go underneath to our fish, attach them both on, and then grab some electrical tape. Gotta find the end of it. There it is. So attach just like that. Just put a little bit of electrical tape on the end of that fish. And then we're gonna go ahead, pull it gently up through the dash till it comes to about 6 inches out of the dash, something like that. Now from there, you can go ahead and plug in your OBD2, which is just right above the parking brake. So get that nice and plugged in. And then your microphone, you can just go ahead and start running. Now, whether you are running it to the top and using our 3D printed mount, or you're running it to on top of the steering column, completely up to you. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. But if you are running it to on top of the steering column, you're just going to reach up and kind of fish the microphone through here and then place it up top. So I'm going to go ahead and get that run now. So just kind of reach in, pull it through, and then we're just going to run it right up top here. Get our mount back on, and then just place it right on top. So for our install, we're just going to mount it on top of the steering column. You can put this anywhere you like. You can put it on the A-pillar, you can put it up here, you can use the 3D printed mount that comes in your bundle. Again, we'll link the video down below so you can see a step-by-step guide of how to do that. But for our install, we're just going to kind of put it up top here and have it there. So now that that part of it is all done, we can go ahead back down to the bottom. Just zip tie those wires up and out of the way. You want to make sure that they don't fall or get stuck on your foot while you're driving. You want to be very, very cautious of that. And then we'll move back up to the dash, get everything tied up nice and neat here, and then we can start actually plugging in all of our plug and play items for the radio. So let's hop back down. So now we just want to make sure all of our wiring can be put out of the way. So in this gentleman already has some stuff run on the bottom here. cut the extra ties off, and then you can go ahead and just kind of pull the rest of that wire up through. Just want to make sure it doesn't get all tangled. You want to make sure it's pretty tight, again, so it doesn't fall down while driving. So now we can move back up to the radio area. So now we have all of our cabling. Again, I like to just kind of secure it again just to make sure that it's not going to fall off or fall down anywhere and be in our way. So I'm just going to go ahead and secure it to one of the harnesses here that's already inside the vehicle. Kind of pull it nice and tight, and then just put a wire tie on there. So now we just need to trim that wire tie off, that everything's tight. And then we can just kind of get the tape off our wire fish and just kind of clean up these wires a little bit. I usually just wrap them around my hand and then put a wire tie on them just to keep them nice and neat. Trim that. And then same thing for our microphone. And again, if you run this up and use our 3D printed mount, you won't have this much cabling, but again, just for this install, we're just kind of doing it this way. So I get that wire tie on there and trim that excess off. So now we have our OBD2 plug as well as our Bluetooth microphone. So that's there. Everything else we're going to plug into this bundle of wires. Now in this case, we will not use this black plug or this blue plug, so we can just kind of get those out of the way. Next, we can go ahead, grab our radio and our plug and play bundle and start plugging everything in. So now we have our radio, we have all of our connections, so we can start going ahead and plugging everything in. So we'll start with some of the simpler things. We have our USB factory connection here that will plug into this gray one here. Make sure you always hear those clicks. So now that's done. So next we can plug in our factory GPS antenna. Now if you have one of the older vehicles that doesn't have the factory GPS antenna, you can always run the included GPS antenna that comes in your extra parts bag that's provided by JVC, but this one has it. So we're going to grab the white, plug that in, making sure again we hear that click. Now this smaller black one will be if you chose to either retain or add Sirius XM satellite radio in this install. We did not. So we're not going to use that one. So next we have our AM FM antenna. That'll be that. So just plug right in, hear that click. All right, so for the next one, we have a couple of plugs. There are 3 white and 1 black, depending on your model year. Now this is a 2021, so this has these. So just be cautious of what your year is. Yours may look just a little bit different if you're a 19 or below. So let's go ahead and get all of these plugged in. Now they are keyed, so you can't plug them in wrong. If you accidentally put one in, it's just not going to fit if it's not supposed to go in there. So let's start out with our speaker harness. That's going to be the black one. Plug that in. Next we have that one, and then finally we have that one. So we will not use this bigger white with the thicker blue and brown wires. So we have 2 more wires to plug in. First one is our OBD2. That is the single white plug that comes off our harness. And then we need to plug in our Bluetooth microphone that will plug directly into the head unit, right where it says microphone. So just plug that in and make sure that is seated all the way down. Now, if you have aftermarket amplifiers, any other accessories that are back in this area, make sure those are all plugged in. Our RCA ports are on the back of the head unit. Rear is at the top. Front inputs are in the middle. And our sub or non-fading pre-outs are at the bottom. If you did decide to do the satellite radio, that's going to already be plugged in here. And if you have the extra cameras and you decided to do 4 cameras, the 4th camera will plug in right here. So now everything is plugged in. Now we need to get it inside the dash. So for that, just be gentle, make sure nothing becomes unplugged and nothing is in the way of any of the mounts for the radio. You also want to be cautious that you can still get at the hazard switch cabling. So we just kind of want to slide those in back like that, and then kind of slide our radio in. Now this is where it's important that we have the ability to grab our 10mm bolts, because we're just going to start them, each one, just so it holds the radio into place. And the last one here. There we go. So now we have all 4 bolts started. We can grab our hazard switch. Now I like to get my dash piece put on before I finalize all of those bolts. So we can go ahead, get our hazard switch plugged in, and kind of get everything set in, making sure nothing is in the way. So that just requires a little bit of moving stuff around. So, and you kind of just hold the radio up, get the kit pressed in. There we go. So now our kit is in, radio is all there. So now we can just go ahead and finalize and tighten up all of our 10mm bolts. So once that's done, we can grab our heater control, get that plugged back in, and get that wire retention put back on there. Slide that into the dash and push. So once our heater controls are locked back in, we can grab our 2 trim pieces. This is the right side one. Just gently slide it into place and push it in. And then this is our left-hand side, same thing, slide it into place and push it in. So now as far as the disassembly, the installation, and the reassembly, we're done. Next step is to turn it on and go through the startup menu and get everything set, our clock, our date, what we want our display to look like, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and do that next. All right, so now let's go over the opening or startup screen. Let's get some stuff set up for our new JVC KW-V960BW. So let's turn the vehicle on. So our opening screen, we have some things that we need to set. So first up is language. So anything other than American English, you can go ahead and change it. Next is our clock display. We have how we want it formatted, so whether that's 12 or 24 hours, whether we want to let it sync from the GPS or manual. We're going to go ahead and just let it sync via GPS. And then the time zone, so depending on what time zone you're in. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to the Eastern time zone. So there we go. Back out of that. So now our display is really just our viewing angle. So right now we'll probably leave it at -1 for this one. Back out of that. Next is our camera. So right now our rear camera interruption is on. We can then select our rear camera message. I want to clear that after about 5 seconds. And I want to turn the parking guidelines off from the radio and just use the ones that are internal in the factory Toyota camera. So if you have any other cameras, like a front camera or any side cameras, you're going to want to tap the camera assignment settings to get those all set up. So first you can see here right now on this particular vehicle we have none, but let's say I did have a front camera. I would tap front camera, tap the front, and then just hit enter. So now the front camera would turn on when I wanted it to and or when I selected it. So, but for now I'm going to go ahead and turn that off and pop back out of the camera setup. So then next we have OEM setup. That's where we can go into our vehicle features and our Maestro settings. For the most part, everything's going to be set exactly how you want it from us when you receive your bundle. So you shouldn't really ever need to adjust anything in there. And then lastly is demo. Always turn that off. If you don't turn the demo off, after about 30 seconds, it's going to start popping up and doing different things like it was on a display board at a car audio shop. So now that everything there is set, we can go ahead and tap finish. We'll have our little warning that pops up. You can either tap agree or you can tap the little box that says automatically remove this after 10 seconds and then tap agree, so then that way you don't have to worry about it. Next is kind of explaining how the gesture touch works. So you can see here on the screen, you just slide left or right, kind of like a phone. To do volume control, you make circles on the screen. To change the widgets, it's kind of like moving everything around, and then how to move it, and then tap to change the widget. Now, you can leave that on, so every time it comes on, that pops up, or you can tap the box to not allow that to come up again. So then we'll tap our OK, come to the main home screen. The unit is off as far as audio-wise, but everything's on. So let's just go ahead and hop right into how to pair your phone. Now, I'm an iPhone user, so I'm going to pair it wirelessly for Apple CarPlay. So we're going to tap our gear here. That's our settings. And we're going to go into AV. And then this is where you'll be able to, if you have an Android, tap your Android Auto Device Select. For Apple CarPlay, I'm going to go to the Apple CarPlay device list. Then I'm going to hit the plus. So now I want to grab my phone, go into my settings, and then go into Bluetooth and have it look for it. So there it popped up. Tap it. I want to make sure that it does all of that. Yes. Pair. allow my favorites to sync. And then comes up with the big one, says connect to CarPlay. So I'm going to tap connect. And that's my phone. We are now linked to CarPlay. So let's just, so we're here. Let's go ahead and just take a listen to the radio, make sure everything works. So now everything works. Let's double check our steering wheel controls. Volume up, volume down. Let's see if it changes modes here. Yep, so we can change modes. Let's double check our voice control, make sure that works. Navigate to Dairy Queen.
One possibility I see is Dairy Queen on Riverbend Wayne.
So that works, so that's fantastic. So here we would want to normally kind of go in and double check, make sure everything's working, our fade and balance, everything like that is working. If you have aftermarket amplifiers, it's especially important to do all that. So the easiest thing to do, play some music that you know from, if you're in Apple CarPlay, you can get out of that. You're going to go ahead, tap that gear. We have set up an audio, click your audio, and then go to your fade and balance and just grab it. Make sure now it's just your left is working, your left front, left rear, and then right front. And then to get it back, you can just tap your center. That'll take it right back to the middle. And then we can go in and do some other really cool stuff. So one thing that JVC does is they have something called K2, which is a sound enhancer. It'll make all of your music sound better, and especially those compressed files, whether you're listening to Apple Music or Spotify or anything like that, it'll make it all sound better. Now these are all just little enhancement things that you can do. If you like a little more bass, you can turn the bass boost to 1, 2, or 3. Loudness, low or high, that just kind of bumps up the internal amplifier. You don't really want to use that if you're using aftermarket amplifiers. The volume link EQ will kind of just bring everything up to match. And then your space enhancement, obviously, this is a 4Runner. Probably want to put it on medium, but again, completely up to you. It's all based on your listening preferences. Sound response just changes a little bit of the EQ to give you a little more or less, and then the sound lift. So that's more if you have a lot of speakers that are low and nothing up in the dash, or if your tweeters are in your doors and not on your dash, you can actually lift the sound up so it's more, you know, kind of like a stage where it's up in front of you. Again, those are all personal preferences. Play with it. See what you like the best. So from there, let's go into the speaker and crossover settings. So here, they do it a little bit differently. You can actually go in and decide what kind of car you have. So we can go into SUV, tap SUV. Now our front speakers are 6x9s. So we can go ahead and change that to a 6x9. Yes, they're in the lower door area. And our tweeter is a medium-sized tweeter because it's about a 2 3/4 or 3-inch speaker, so we can leave it like that. And then we can tap our crossover. So right now we can go to, we can leave it through, and then we can change what frequency that high-pass crossover is going to cut those speakers. So leave it somewhere around 50 hertz, again, depending on what type of speakers you have in there, whether they're factory or aftermarket, that may change. And then we can do the same thing for the rear. Now the rear in a 4Runner is a 6.5-inch speaker, so we probably take a bump up and let them play everything from 70 hertz and up. And then in this vehicle, we do not have a subwoofer, but if we did, we could adjust all of that stuff right here. So let's hop out of that and out of that. So next we have our EQ and our subwoofer level. So again, this is all a personal opinion on how you like to listen to it. So there are a couple different presets. So you can go in and try pop or hip hop or R&B or flat, which is how it comes from the factory, hard rock. So you can kind of see where it changes stuff too. Again, I'm just going to leave it at flat for now. And pop back out of there. And then here, if you have an aftermarket amplifier or a subwoofer and you're using the RCAs from the head unit to your amplifier, this is where your sub control is going to be. So you can turn it up or down depending on how much subwoofer you want. So pop back out of there. So another one of the cool things that the JVC Kenwood company does is called zone control. So what that will do is actually split up the signal of what the radio is sending out to the speakers. So right now it's on single zone. Now let's say I wanted to listen to something on the front speakers and the kids wanted to listen to something on the rear speakers. You can actually go in and go dual zone. So now my front source will play Apple CarPlay, and I can change the rear source to play the AV in. So that would be like, say I have a DVD player running into it, and that way the rear speakers would play the AV input. You know, I can change the front source to a number of different things. So, but let's go ahead and just change that back to single zone. So now we don't have to worry about it, just everything will play out of all speakers. So now they also have a couple of other things here. Volume offset. Now this allows the radio to gain up the volume to match other things. So if you've ever noticed that you're listening to the radio and then you switch to Apple CarPlay or Sirius XM or your USB and it's noticeably quieter, this is where you can actually go in and match those things. So just depending on what you want to do, you can actually turn volume down on AM and FM and then kind of scroll down, and let's say Sirius XM was considerably lower, you can tap and give that a little more volume. We can pop back out of there, and now we can go into our listening position. So from the factory, it comes so all speakers are the same. You can actually go in and adjust everything to your liking. So that is part of the time alignment. So not going to go too in depth with that right now, but you can adjust stuff exactly how you want it. So all your speakers will hit your ear in the driver's seat at the exact same time. So get out of there, and then we can get out of here. Hit OK. So right now go back into CarPlay, and we have the ability to do everything we want right here from the dash. We can listen to any of our apps and also have our navigation, whether it be Apple CarPlay, Waze, or Google Maps, right here on the dash. So that's the main part of kind of doing the audio and the Apple CarPlay. Obviously, if you have Android Auto, you can do your Android Auto stuff. And then we have our radio tuner. But then there is this little icon right here that will get us the rest of the stuff. So the USB mirroring, the wireless mirroring, the CD player, the USB, if you did Sirius XM, and then you can slide it over, and then we have kind of the rest of our stuff, so our vehicle info as well as our gauges. So we can tap our vehicle info. So right now you can see the back 2 doors are open. I'll open this driver's door. Driver's door is open. Now the car hasn't been started, so it hasn't realized the TPMS sensors yet. And you can see our battery voltage is a little lower than 12. Now, cool thing about Maestro is you can see if a check engine light is on right here, and most times you will actually be able to get the code for that check engine light. We are in park, so let's pop out of there and then go into our gauges, show you what the gauges look like. So there's our gauges, so you can kind of see where our fuel level is, our intake temperature. Obviously we're not driving or moving, so the RPM is not going to do anything as with the mile per hour or the load. One of the other super cool things you can do is you can actually move things to where you want it. So say you never use the radio. So you can go into your settings, find whichever thing you want to move it to. So let's say we did Sirius XM. Tap and hold on the icon and just slide it over. So now it'll change those two. And say we always use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We're never going to use the Bluetooth phone icon there, but we want our gauges there. So tap it and then just slide it up to there, and it will replace everything with that. So now we have our things there. And again, if we're an Apple user and we don't need the Android Auto, we can move that, or vice versa. But that way you have everything kind of right on your home screen that you can quickly just get to and move around. Another pretty cool thing is the gesture touch. So we have volume up, volume down, we can skip forward or repeat backwards, and then we can jump up and down right by just using our finger on the screen. So that's the basic overview of the radio. So there are a lot of features that we just didn't go over. You know, not only can you use your steering wheel, your gesture touch, but there is also volume up and down on the top left-hand corner, as well as a function button that kind of gets you into other areas. Now, we went through most of these, but it brings up your 4 icons that you have on your main screen. You can tap that to get out of there. So, the JVC 960BW is packed with 2025 features, including that legacy, something we all used to love, CD and DVD player all in one unit. So if you're looking to purchase this JVC 960BW bundle for your Toyota 4Runner, please visit us at trailgridpro.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.